All right, guys, welcome to another week of Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple. We're doing another live here. And this week we have a special guest. I'm really excited for this week. We have Micah Thomas here, who is the owner of US Lead List. Now, for some of you guys who haven't heard of US Lead List, they are the premier provider of inheritance leads, right? So if you're looking to target sellers that have a lot of motivation, right? You're tired of targeting the sellers in today's environment that we're in right now that are not motivated to sell, don't want to sell because of the higher interest rates, right? This could be your answer in finding sellers that want to sell, that are excited to sell, right? Because they inherited a house they didn't expect to own. They're not investors. They don't want to be landlords. They just want to offload these things. And that can create a tremendous opportunity for you and for the seller as well, right? So we'll dive into that today. I'm not going to steal Micah's thunder here, but Micah, thanks for joining us today.
Of course, no problem. Slight wrinkle. My name is Micah Nichols, but I've often wished for a last name that was different than my own. So we can go Micah Thomas this time. That's fine.
For some reason, you showed up in my phone as Micah Thomas. I don't know why.
Guys,
it's Micah Nichols.
I saw it on the link. I was like, Micah Thomas. I wonder if there's a Thomas joining us too. That would be cool. Anyway, so that's great. Yeah, man. Well, thank you for having me. And first, I just wanted to say in my interactions with you and kind of how you kind of ask questions, learning about me and us and our relationship, I could tell that there was just a deep respect for the students that you have and kind of the work that you're doing to help these people grow something better in their lives. And it was it resonated with and me just in how much you care and how much you're actually vested in your student success. So props to you. Not everyone is like that, and I really respect it.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Yeah, really trying to create a difference here in the coaching community. There's a lot of great coaches out there, and there's a lot of information out there. But I'm really passionate about not only my coaching clients getting results, but also the people that are a part of this community. I really want to make sure they get the best of the best. We deliver as much value as possible. So whether they're a client or not, and they implement some of the strategies here, they can get real results and impact their lives in a positive way. So awesome. Absolutely. I love it. And that's exactly how we're aligned.
Totally. That's right.
Yeah. So, okay, great. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'll at some point here we can talk about what my company does, but I did want to, at least give a perspective of mine that working with inheritance list folks and literally fielding thousands of these calls, because I'm an investor as well. I use my own list to market with. I wanted to talk about, first, just a way that maybe I could give to your students, a way that I could help give value, help them change something today that would make their business a little bit better. And
great.
I apologize for my sparsely decorated room. I had to move myself to a basement. So shout out to all the other people who have ADD. Anyway, what I want to talk about is just really quickly building rapport. And what I found and what, especially with anyone who's in an emotional situation, which is often literally anyone who is an actual motivated seller, getting yourself out of the way, getting what you want out of the way, and actually being a really good listener is the best way to create instant connection, instant rapport, and show up in a way that's really helpful to the seller. And people who use our list or any other list, what I find is, like, if you jump in, just a bull in a china shop, hey, I want to buy your property. That's all I want. That's all I care about. That's all I want to talk about. You often miss, the largest opportunity, which is people want to deal with friends. They want to help their friends. They want their friends to win. And so if you can quickly become a friend to any lead, it doesn't matter if you're cold calling, you're dealing with inbound calls, it doesn't matter. If you can create friends quickly, you're going to do more deals. And not only that, they're going to thank you. They're going to say, wow, this guy brought me value solved my problem, and he acted class act the whole time, because like literally the secret here is just listening. If you just listen, ask good questions, listen, ask another good question, leading to where you want to go, not with, starting with where you want to be first. And so, I'm sure you talk about this in your training, but maybe I'm being repetitive, but I think it's a really important and valuable tool and good frame of reference to build any business, anything in life, is if you can align yourself and be a good, host first of other person's needs, they're going to want to deal with you regardless. And so
100%. And, I love how you framed that, because too many people, especially newbies getting started, who are hungry for their first deal, they approach sellers more of like a transaction, right? They approach them saying, hey, how much of assignment fee can I make on this deal? How much money can I make on this deal? And it causes them to lose a lot of deals, right? But before we get too deep here, let's back up for a second here. And I really want to piggyback on that and add some more to that. But let's go ahead and dive into your company, what you guys do and what you guys offer to the investor community. And then that way, our listeners can have a real strong understanding as far as like how you can provide value. And then we'll kind of go from there.
Absolutely. Okay. So what we do at US Lead List, and I'm convinced, and I'm the owner, so this is what any owner would think, but I'm convinced personally that we have the best, most complete inheritance list out there, that on the market. And I know that because we're constantly scrubbing other competitors' lists, and we always have 60% more data than anyone else in the space. But why inheritance list? Why would you want to work with that? Why is it important? Given now, especially with the baby boomers kind of coming of age, the transfer of wealth is literally in the trillions of dollars. It's going to happen here in the next 20 years. And so what we're doing with the inheritance list is we're compiling basically 3 separate buckets of leads. So the first is trusts. So, they planned ahead, they put all their property, all their assets into a trust. And so, we're searching for those actively and including them on the inheritance list. Next, we're doing surviving spouses. And obviously this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. But we're really good at connecting death and asset ownership. And so that's really what the core tendency of our business is. It's that event, and then, finding who owns it and figuring out good ways to market to them. So back to what I was saying. So there's trust, there's surviving spouses, and those two, it's worth noting that those don't go to probate. That's not part of probate. So a lot of people kind of mix those in with probate leads, and they're not. If you can buy those right away, they can sell those as they please. There's sometimes logistics that get involved, but anyway. And then the last is pre-probate. And so, typical time frame for probate to start after the death event, it's about 8 weeks. And on average, when we're kind of publishing our data in its monthly form, we're about 6 weeks behind the death event. And so, unless they're really organized and they were planning for this and they had all their documents together, typically they're before probate starts, then you have a chance to start marketing to them right away and be that voice to kind of trickle into their ear that hey, I'm interested. I don't know if you need help with this. And there's a right way to do that, and we should absolutely talk about that, and we will eventually. But that's what the inheritance list is. And so we put all those things together. And the reason why is because we see that these, this kind of group of folks, on average, there's like a 50% transfer rate of title within 2 years. And that goes up as time goes along. But I like 2 years because it's in my experience, and my best customers who we've had for decades will tell you, well, not decades, 15 years is our oldest client, is that about 2 years is the marketing cycle that they give. They're sending out pieces of mail. They're trying to connect with them over those 2 years because that's the most relevant time in which they're usually considering selling once all the dust settles, the emotions kind of unravel, and they can make a clear choice to say, hey, I want to sell this property. Is that good? Is that clear? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, no, that was great, guys. And so real quick, great, Micah. And by the way, guys, if you have any questions here for Micah, go ahead and drop those questions in the chat box here, and make sure you accept the StreamYard terms and conditions so you don't come through as a Facebook user, because that's kind of weird. I don't know who I'm talking to, and I want to make sure that we get you guys questions answered. We know who we're talking to, and also go ahead and comment where you're watching from. I love to see where people are watching from all over the United States and how we can do this virtual. And by the way, guys, if you have any questions, like maybe some of you guys are new in here, right? And you're hearing words like, title, probate, transfer of ownership, and things like that. Let's kind of dig into that for a minute, and that way you can get on the same page with us. The more experienced people in here, I know you guys probably already know what all this stuff is, but for the new people coming in, probate is a legal transfer of ownership from the person that passed away to the person that's going to be inheriting that property. So inheritance list, right? So once the property is transferred from the person that passed away, right, to the beneficiary of that estate, at that point, that is what's called the probate process. And the beneficiary now can sell that property. The problem that I've seen, and Micah, feel free to piggyback on this if you'd like, is that the people that inherit these properties, again, they're not investors, they're not landlords, they're not really experienced, and they don't know what to do with the property. A lot of times these properties come along with painful memories, and they just are not in a situation where they want to keep it. What they want is money, right? They want the money. So that's the reason why these people are open to selling. And that's how it ends up happening. And the reason why, again, that puts them in a position where it's a great contact to reach out to during this time, because they don't care about interest rates right now. All they care about is getting rid of a property they weren't prepared to own in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that kind of brings up a point that, something we just added to our list, and I've been working it personally for a little while, but we kind of dubbed this the insiders list. But basically, we're concentrating, so there's a small set of people in every group, 10%, 20%. But when someone passes away, they're actually a landlord, or they own more than one property. And so we're also publishing, we're doing a cross search to see if they own any other properties. And those are the real gems of this list, because I agree with you that, there's painful memories, but oftentimes people don't want to get rid of it because they process that, and it takes a little bit longer to kind of deal with that. But if they own a rental property or a second home, or something else, they're much more willing to get that off of the plate right away, because there isn't any emotional connection or emotional hangups where they're like, that's painful, I'm going to get rid of it eventually, but I need to clutch onto this for a minute, because that is something that I see a lot. And so, we added that so you can, basically know who to talk to in this specific way of hey, wow, do you own any other properties? And there's serious relevance there, and a way of concentrating your market and your calls or text, depending on how you're marketing, to get the most out of this list right out of the gates.
Love that. So let's go ahead and talk. Okay, so we've talked about your company, who you are, what you guys do, and how you serve the investor community. We've talked about the types of records that are within your list, right? You have people that are properties that are in trusts. We have surviving spouses. We have pre-probate. Can you walk me through? So some people on here might have a service like PropStream or another service, right? And they may have seen pre-probate somewhere else, or maybe in some other type of automated software, right? Can you maybe just take a minute to share a little bit about the difference between the data that you provide? Because I think that's someone's biggest question is I've seen this type of a list before, right? Why don't I just have what I have? What's the difference between your data and this? Is it more accurate? How does that work?
Yeah. I mean, first I would just say that if PropStream is doing everything you want, and you don't want to add another marketing, use it, go ahead. I'm not trying to it's a great product. So just want to start by saying that. And we get this question a lot with our company when they're just trying to make a decision, your leads are more expensive. Why would I pay more? And my answer is, when I did my own case study in my own county, I live in Dane County in Wisconsin. So it's the capital of Wisconsin. Madison is here. And basically, when I looked at everything that they're generating and compared it to what we're doing, they had 1 for every 9 that we had. And so there was a really big discrepancy in how many leads there were. And then 2, there's no time frame attached, at least when I looked, and this was, it was a little bit ago, 6 months. There's no time frame attached when or how soon that pre-probate was. What it felt like, it was an out of the can product that someone else put together for them. This is the core tendency of our business. And so any way that we can be a little bit better at making our list, we're grinding on that constantly. And so I think that's the distinction, is that they're a great big data aggregator across a bunch of different places. And it's a good way to pull ownership information. What we're doing here is really specialized, very niche, and it's quality over quantity.
I love that. And guys, if you're looking at targeting a specific type of list like this, yes, there's other sources you can get lists from, but if you're serious about targeting this type of list and getting the best possible results from it, I recommend going with a provider that specializes in this, because there's a lot of unique parts, like the 3 different buckets of inheritance leads that they produce, right? Maybe another service is only going to produce 1 of those. You're going to be leaving a lot of money on the table, right? A lot of potential opportunity. And the fact that, yours produced 9 for every 1 record that you found in an automated platform, I mean, that's huge, because what I've found is that the harder the list is to pull, right? The easier it is to pull, the more competitive it's going to be. You're going to have a lot more people calling on those homeowners, right? But the harder a list is to get, right? Or the more legwork you have to go through to get it, or a specialty service that offers it, right? The lower the competition is going to be for those leads. And so you have a better chance of turning those leads to deals, right? So awesome. I love that. So would you like to kind of talk about the marketing side, right? Because a lot of people, I'm sure, here saying, okay, I understand that you guys are the business when it comes to inheritance leads, right? So how would you go about marketing to these? Maybe kind of walk us through some methods that have been really effective for you guys, and maybe the way that you recommend hitting these if someone was to move forward with a list like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to go back and touch on one other thing really quick.
Sure.
So you're talking about frequency of folks being marketed to, and so part of our service and what we do at our company is, like, we really want to bring value to our customers, and so we only sell each lead 3 times ever. And so and 2, this can be frustrating, because there might be someone who approaches us and they're like, hey, I'm really interested in working the St. Louis market, and I have to tell them, like, I'm sorry, it's sold out. And so there are places around the state where we don't sell our data anymore. But the exchange of that is that, our leads are less saturated. If you market to them in a really good way, like, there's deals here. And in general, what I find is, like, the largest deal, our average deal size is, it's close to 40K.
Wow, that's amazing.
Just, across the board. Yeah, exactly. But part of that is because we're not vending this 1,000 times like PropStream. And so again, and 2, even like foreclosure state, and I don't want to rag on other people, but I think it's good to know the difference, is that they'll sell stuff 10, 11 times, and that's okay with them. They don't feel like that's disingenuous at all. We do. So that there's 3 investors. You can get on the wait list. We won't sell until someone drops out. And I hope you guys are all invited to work with us. But if there's someone there, we can't help you until they leave. Anyway, so to marketing, what we see, what I do, it's not complicated. It's actually really simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. So earlier I was talking about staying in front of these people for that 2-year period. And that's super important. I want to talk about that, because you absolutely need to show up in front of these people, because there's so many things that are culminating and happening. I mean, like, first is like logistics, right? Like, I hope none of the people listening to this have had to deal with someone they love dying, and that's another kind of core thing that I want to talk about as we're marketing. This is sensitive. There's a wrong way to do this, and there's a right way in my mind, and any marketing is better than no marketing. So I'll also say that, but so I just want to say that, like, make sure that your heart is in the right place when you're dealing with people on this list, because one, there's going to be people who call you, bad names. They're frustrated because, they kind of see the game here. But two, it's okay, because if you remember why they're mad, or can imagine losing something that is irreplaceable, that you can never get back, and they, it's sensible for people to feel frustrated. So remember that, keep that in mind. The most angry people are the ones that are hurting the most, and maybe there's a way you can help them, even though they're frustrated with you. So what I'll say as far as marketing to them, our first go-to is direct mail. And there's a couple things around that are really important. So first thing is, you have to use first-class handling of these letters. So it's pre-probate. You don't know yet who the right person is. You're sending a letter to their home that they owned, and you have to have that first-class stamp, because it needs to be forwarded in case someone out of state is kind of in charge of things. That's almost the first thing you do. It's like, my dad died, I'm gonna have the letters forwarded to my house, because I need to stay on top of the bills. I've got to make sure that there's no credit cards coming after him. I have to basically manage someone else's logistical life, because they can't until the estate is settled. So first class handling of stamps is really important. And two, it's just, I like it better because it's a tighter feedback loop between when I send a letter and when I get a call back, rather than bulk, which is some weeks, sometimes months. Anyway, so use first class stamp. I, in general, am, I don't talk about the death. I don't bring it up. I don't harp on people. So in our letter, it literally is the most open letter possible to start. It just says, hey, I have a question about your property. And what this did for me in our business, and it was a big shift, is our response rate went from 1.5% to closer to 6%. And so people are just
Wow.
like, they're naturally curious, like, what is your question? What possible question could you have? And so, and I'll kind of run through this whole thing since we're talking about, but I get them on the phone. I say, I know this is out of the blue. And most people say no. And that's okay. Cause this is just, a shot in the dark, but I'm a investor. I'm looking for properties. Have you considered selling your home? And I phrase that really specifically. I want them to feel like they're in control, right? So most people say no, it's a shot in the dark, I'm just hoping. And with that verbiage, you can kind of create an openness inside of them where they can say no, and it's not, there's no pressure, right? And so I don't like pressuring people. I don't want them to feel like they have to sell, because our response emotionally for everyone, this is a human response. There, you say, when you feel controlled or pressured, you instantly say no. So come at this really sideways. Just figure out a natural way you can say that. And this goes too for any other marketing as well. It's not just this group, but it's a great lead in, and you can get more people, and you can have more quality conversations when you start like that, because you can turn all of those maybes that you would have never gotten a call from if you send a much more direct letter. So I have a question, and you come on, you're friendly, you're nice, you're jovial, and you can use your personality to become important to this person, and potentially do more deals. So anyway, that's direct. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So let me jump in here for a second, guys. I don't know if you guys caught this, right? So the only thing it says in your letter is, hey, I have a question about your property. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's all it says.
My number's on there, and then just my name. Yep. That's it.
Guys, this is a huge gold nugget. I've never heard of a letter so simple, but I could see why this would be so incredibly effective. But again, it's doing what's different from everybody else in the marketplace. A lot of people, they're saying letters and postcards, and they say this long paragraph on there about why you're the best choice to, go with when it comes to selling their home, if they were looking to get cash and all this stuff. And it goes all this deep stuff. And you know what? There may be something you say in there that turns people off. Right. But if you send someone a letter that says, hey, I have a question about your property, ? Right. And then, call me when you can, or call me as soon as possible, or whatever you put on there. Right. You just have your name and phone number. I mean, you're going to get a flood of calls. And that's amazing. That brought your response rate. So the amount of people, the percentage of people that responded from the letters you sent out, from typically around 1% or 0.5% all the way to 6%. So guys, if there's one gold nugget that you got from today's presentation and that's it, and you just took this and implemented it in your business, that is the one nugget right there that's definitely worth it right there. So great stuff. I love that. Okay. So, and then the other thing I'd like to say on there is I love how you approach the sellers when it comes to when they call back, right? Because a lot of times sellers ask questions like, sellers ask questions like, well, hey, why did you mail me? What made you think that I was interested in selling? Right. And then you say, your attitude's like, I'm not assuming anything. I just want to see if you consider selling because I'm looking to buy a house in this area. Very similar to how we approach cold calling. We never mention the situation. We never mention what they're going through. We found that is big time backlash from sellers. Yep. And they feel like it's a violation of privacy, even though, all that information's out there today. So, but good stuff. I don't want to steal your thunder, but that was great.
Yeah, no problem. Well, and quick side note. So I have a client, and I was talking to him, and he's like, "Hey, I had my best year ever with your guys' list. I think he made over 200K in assignment fees last year from 4 separate deals." And he's like, "Well, I want to share my letter with you." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'd love to see your letter." And it went completely against all of my rules. And I just want to say this because, like I mentioned it earlier, any marketing is better than no marketing. And so this guy, full on apology letter. I'm so sorry for your loss. I know this is a hard time. This is a challenging situation, but I'd love to work with you in this circumstance to, buy your property. And he still made 200K last year from the list. And it just boggled my mind because I'd never heard anyone having such broad success, because no one really has, the balls to send a letter like that. I don't recommend it because he creates this emotional storm, and he's still churning deals out. And so I thought that was amazing, and I wanted to share that because I'm thinking about now, like, okay, maybe this should be part of my my mailings. Like maybe I should add this at some point and just take the heat and deal with it, because you mentioned it earlier. You never know how something is going to touch someone. So my guess is that for whoever those people were, it actually it brought them out. It brought them to them and connected in a way that no one else was doing it. And so, it's good to kind of put your head in the mind of other people, and what are we willing to trade for success in business, right? Are you willing to get yelled at by 100 people to do 4 deals, or whatever? I don't know how many calls he took, but there's some kind of a ratio there, and so it's definitely worth mentioning
for sure. Yeah. So
move on to the next thing.
Oh, no, it's good. And to kind of piggyback on this, guys. So, one of the things that Mike is talking about here is marketing, right? I mean, that's the whole theme, but specifically when he's talking about what that guy put in his letter and how it's a little more complex, brand new starting out, guys. I love the simplicity of Micah's letter. I mean, that's amazing. And I think that's a great way to go about it. The other way, you have to be really careful. It works for that one guy, but I'll give you an example. I consider myself to be fairly good at marketing. I wrote a letter very similar like this, but it's for delinquent tax homeowners. And Heather will tell you, my wife, who's also my business partner, we got like a 20% response rate, but every person was like cursing us out, and they were very, very angry with us, right? So there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And so what I would say, guys, is follow Micah's simple way that he does it, right? And then as you get better, read a lot of marketing books, and you can understand to craft certain things. Heck, maybe you can pay someone for a letter that's working for them. then go that route, right? Because at the end of the day, guys, wholesaling is not a real estate business. It's a sales and marketing business. So the better that you can understand sales and marketing, the more success you're going to have. So let's take a quick pause for a minute. I'd like to answer some questions that people have here. I see some people here watching from Charlotte, watching from Tampa, Florida. Welcome, guys. Peg, looking forward to it. Awesome. Lori says, I love study and the psychology of it. Me too. I think it's amazing. It's the simplest letter I've heard. Okay, someone, Facebook user. Remember, guys, I told you got to accept the StreamYard terms and conditions. A little weird not having the name, but I'm going to go for it. They asked, do you handwrite this note or is that on a letterhead?
It is not handwritten, but it's so we have a little small fulfillment company. I can kind of show you guys at least what my letter. So it's on yellow paper. I don't know if you can see, but it looks go that way. It looks handwritten, but it's actually printed. And that said, it's worth mentioning. We use a little what's called an A2 letter, and it's almost like something you get from a Hallmark shelf. It's small. It's not quite white. Like you mentioned this earlier, but you can't show up in the same way that everyone else does. Like marketing, when you're trying to attract people to you, you have to look different. And so that letter, we charge more for it. It's hand done. They're hand placing real stamps on it. And but it looks like someone touched it. It feels like something of quality, not like a crappy A10 letter that everyone else is sending. So I think it's really worth talking about, again, quality over quantity. Both work, but I would rather do more profitable deals than a bunch of little tiny ones. And so that's kind of the scale there.
Awesome. Okay, great.
And that said, though, I would encourage, if you have the time to handwrite because it gets a better response. It's better marketing.
Awesome. I remember when I first started, I was handwriting a bunch. I even got my mom and my grandmother to handwrite letters for me. We put them all in the thing and sent them out. Yeah. So no, I get it. Okay. No, that's great. And you mentioned something really important there, and we're going to break this down here in just a second, but you guys also have a service where you'll send the mail out for people.
Yep.
Great. So you guys provide the leads and then you also handle all the marketing for it.
Correct. Yep.
That's amazing. Let's dive into that here in just a second. We're going to answer Peg's question here. So what did you say on the phone when they called you from your note? Could you go back to that?
I mean, yeah, sure. So really, my opening is, they're like, well, what's your question? There's some people who get it. I would say maybe 25% of the people, like, they completely know what I'm doing here. So for the other 75%, they get on the phone, well, what's your question about my property? And I just, again, I'm just like, hey, I know this is out of the blue. I'm sending letters to people in your area. And most people say no, but, I'm curious if you'd be, interested or have thought about selling your property. And so it really opens up, it's kind of the same, like, the best door knockers, right? People who are going out and knocking on doors. The best way to go and door knock is not to pressure people. You go up to the door and you find someone who's home and they're there, and you say, hey, I'm in your area. I bought a home over here recently, and I'm looking for another one. Do you know of anyone who's going to sell? And, you could be targeting this person specifically, their situation, everything about it. But when you do it like that, they have the openness, and they don't feel scared, because when we're scared, we say no. And so they have the openness to be like, well, yeah, I might know someone, when they're really talking about themselves, So that's my mindset behind it. And I do really think that, and science shows that it's a lot more profitable way to go about talking to people on the phone or at their door.
Yeah, I love that. That's always been my approach, is the subtle approach, not the direct approach, because I feel like it gets better results and it makes people feel more comfortable. So that's awesome. Peg, that answer your question? Good stuff. Good stuff. Guys, if you have any other questions, keep dropping them here. I want to make sure we answer them before we end our time here today. But I'm sure a lot of you guys are sitting here thinking, man, this is amazing. You know, Micah's company here, US Lead List, they provide these inheritance leads. We've established that, you know, these are not just leads you can pull from another system or just an automated platform or anything like that. And the best way to hone in on these leads and get access to these leads is through a company that specializes here like US Lead List. The great thing about them is they have that 3-person cap. So if you call and you try to get access and they're full, they will tell you they're full, right? That's not a marketing thing. They will literally tell you they're full because I've tried before, right? And so, you know, great stuff, Mike. I really appreciate you sharing all that. Can you go ahead and dive into what you guys offer? Because I know that you guys put together a special offer for exclusively here for the community here in Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple. Matter of fact, guys, if you try to get this offer somewhere else, it won't happen. They happen, right? So the only way you're going to get access to this offer is right here in Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple, or if you're a client, right? So, Vicky asked the question here: if you market for us, do we get a copy of the list so we know they are on the list? So we know.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, basically how we do our data is that we're compiling a national data set every month. And so, you know, basically it's a subscription service. We charge, you know, per lead, and then, you know, you get that list. And then, you know, if we end up doing fulfillment for you, we send it to our tiny office. And so I will just say this again, the letters, like, if you want to use this, great. They're really nice. All we do is just a letter. They cost $1.37 each, and they're, you know, there's other cheaper sources out there. But just, you know, use anyone who you want, use us, but make sure it's different. Make sure you figure out a way to make it feel like a human put it together, not, you know, mass marketing.
100%. And guys, this is not meant to replace a marketing channel for you guys. This is something that you add on. For instance, you know, you're going to be let's say you mail these, you go through US Lead List to mail these, but you can also pick up the phone and you can call these people in the list and hit them multiple different ways. And that way it'll help you to make sure you get a deal as quickly as possible. I know that we talked about in the past how some people are texting these lists, some people are calling them. You know, you guys have had a lot of success with direct mail, but do you see any harm in hitting these in multiple different ways?
No. I mean, we've built out a pretty sophisticated skip tracing where we skip trace 5 separate people for each record. And so we're getting the person who passed away, which is, you know, mostly a dead end. And then we find the spouse if they have one. Yeah. That was a cheap one. Yeah.
Hey,
and we're finding a spouse if we can find one. We're skip tracing them, and then 3 additional relatives who have had their, you know, address kind of at that property that they've owned, and we're skip tracing them as well. So kind of the challenge here again, it's like you don't know who the right person is yet. Obviously, you know, spouse is the best place to start, and so pretty much when I'm having my guy do cold calling and texting, we're working the spouse really hard. That's who we're talking to, and that's who we're really getting in front of. So yeah, absolutely. Both of those channels are great ways to do it. And I've got, like, I think 2 contracts from texting right now and 1 from cold calling that are, you know, are all in escrow. So
love it. Good stuff. All right. Yeah. So why don't we're getting close to the end of our time here today. If you guys have questions, go ahead and drop in those questions, but I'd like to get into the specific offer that Mike has put together here for the group. And then what I'm also going to do, guys, I'm going to go ahead and drop my my link, because this link is the only way you guys can go ahead and get this offer. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to pull this up for you. And this way you guys can go ahead and bear with me for 1 minute. I'm going to drop this in the comment section here of the video, so that way you guys can check it out. Reach out to them if you'd like to get more info about the service and what they can do. So I went ahead and dropped my link there. So Micah, why don't you go ahead into what we talked about and the special deal that you guys put together. I had to twist your arm a little bit to make this happen.
Absolutely.
But
it was,
yeah.
The sell was how, you know, again, just like how can I help my students be a part of your network? And so, I absolutely want to work with you. So normally what we're doing is when someone onboards with us, we'll give them, basically 2 years of back data. We'll scrub that with, properties that have sold and then our MLS active, and give that kind of giant marketing list to start. And so, we charge flat $2,000 for that. So for your group, cutting $500 off of that, it'll be, $14.99, I think is what I said. And then, in addition to that, like I said, we skip trace 5 people per record. And so that's a big expense for our team. And so to your group and to help and to just, again, give first is we want to give you free skip tracing for the, lifetime of the customer. So come in, work with us if you want, if you feel like this is a good fit for kind of how you want to work your business and have it be a part of, your marketing that you're doing. So
boom,
that's
guys.
what I offer. Yeah, exactly.
Look at that, $500 off. You guys are going to get $500 off just because you're part of the Virtual Wholesale Made Simple community, right? Of the startup. And then on top of that, you're going to get several years worth of backed records. So you'll have a decent sized list when you're coming out, probably around 1,500 records that he's going to provide to you, somewhere around there, right? Give or take some. On top of that, you guys are also going to get 5 people to reach out to potentially for each record, and free skip tracing for lifetime, as long as you are a member, as long as you sign up using my link there and you get going there. So guys, that is amazing. Micah, thanks for putting that offer together. I mean, that's amazing, guys. Literally, if you were not in this group and you tried to go sign up just directly to the website, you would be paying $500 more, not getting free skip tracing. And from there, you probably wouldn't get as many leads, but we're offering that triple stack for you guys here to provide as much value to you guys. And one of the things I'll recommend is if you do use US lead lists, you want to have them do the whole fulfillment. Okay. You want to have them do the mailing. You want to have them, pull the list for you and skip trace and all that stuff. Because here's the thing. Are there cheaper sources out there? And I love you brought this up, Mike. And I like how you're very direct, right? Some people are like, oh, well, we're better and all this stuff. I like how you just put it out there and let people decide, because that's my personality, right? So, so guys, like, there are cheaper sources out there, but I don't want you to trip over dimes that pick up pennies. Okay. What if you go to do this yourself and you don't do it as well as they do? They have years of experience in the, over 10 years of experience in the inheritance list space, right? So if you think that you could be as good as they could be in marketing to your leads, then I'd like you to rethink that, because the extra money that you're going to spend having them run your marketing campaigns for you, I would almost guarantee that money is going to come back to you in spades in deals, right? And as a real estate investor, you always want to be thinking about, how can I focus on tasks that are closest to the money? So your closest to the money tasks are not preparing your own marketing campaign, setting up your own CRM, tinkering and all these different things, or even trying a brand new marketing channel you've never done before yourself, right? The value is having somebody else who knows what they're doing run it for you. And that way you can have confidence that if you just focus on what you do best, talking to sellers and getting deals, that you're going to get the most possible fruit out of that activity. So awesome. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you sharing that. That's amazing. Do you have any final words that you want to share with anybody, or does anybody have any last questions here from Micah?
No, I mean, I just want to thank you for letting me be a part of your community and letting me kind of share what I know. And, maybe, one of your students or you've got, a jewel for me. And so I'm, certainly just always trying to learn and pick up little bits of wisdom. And so I hope I shared some, and hopefully I'll learn some from the people who, I end up getting to chat with and you personally. So I appreciate you having me here.
Love that. Love that. Well, thanks again, Micah. Real quick, guys, anyone have any final questions about anything Micah talked about today? I know we covered a lot. We talked about, the multiple different types of leads within his inheritance list, the difference between him and other companies, why focus on companies that specialize over companies that just do massive amounts of data, right? There is a place for that. I still use PropStream in a lot of for all my other lists, right? But for this specific list, you want to work with someone who specializes because, again, they're just going to be a lot more detailed. They're going to get you more records. You're going to get more fruit out of that. And you're putting yourself in the best position to be able to get as many deals as possible from a list like this. So any other questions, guys? We're going in 5, 4, 3, putting the countdown on you, 2, 1. Okay. If anyone has any final questions, we're going to go ahead and end here. But if anyone has any final questions, I'd like you to go ahead and put that in the comments. I'm going to invite Micah to the group too, so he can be in the group. He can answer any of your guys' questions. And then if any of you guys decide you'd like to move forward, fantastic. And yeah, just excited to hear about your success. You have to post about your success in the group. So Micah, thanks so much for being here today and for being a part of the group and just sharing your knowledge. There was a lot of gold nuggets. I definitely wrote down a lot here. Hope you all did too. And I just appreciate you coming in the group.
Yeah, same to you. I appreciate being here. Thanks so much.
Awesome, guys. Have a great week, guys. And we'll talk to you soon. This brings this week to a close. And have a great rest of the week.